You know, as a trader, there are so many potential problems and issues that can come up that will negatively affect your performance. And I think all of us are aware of the most common ones, right? But the problem is, we only ever get to experience our own situation. So we know the problems that we've faced, the obstacles we've had to overcome, the solutions we found to do that, the things that have worked, the things that haven't worked. But I've been fortunate enough to work with many different traders, you guys, to help you overcome your problems as well. And what I've found is that actually, with all of these different problems, there are some similarities. Now, at first it was frustrating because everyone has their own unique situation. So you hear about someone's problems and you think, well, I've not experienced that before, so I'm not sure how to overcome that. But when you hear that replicated time and time again, you find that all of these problems that people are experiencing are actually just the symptoms. And when you dig deeper and find the root cause, there's actually only a handful of root causes that are causing all of these problems. And you see, if you try and deal with these symptoms, if you try and extinguish one of them, it's a bit like a game of whack-a-mole, because if you haven't addressed that root cause problem, it will just appear somewhere else as a different symptom. So instead, we need to address the real core problems that are leading to these symptom level problems appearing. You see, I think of it like this. We have all those different symptoms at the top. Things like moving your stop loss, not sticking to your system, panic selling, FOMO, fear of missing out, you name it. And these are all caused by some common, bigger issues. And then a bit further down below that, we have the countless number of personal situations, your own unique situation, that creates these bigger common issues. So what I'm going to do in this video is explain a few of the most common issues that I see, and by doing so, you'll be able to see if it relates to the symptoms you've been encountering with your trading, and therefore if it is, you can try to figure out what in your personal situation has led to this happening. Because it's sort of like a domino effect. One problem ends up leading to another issue, which leads to another and another, and it comes out in your trading. So let's take a look at that. So let's start with loss aversion. This is one of the major causes of most of the symptom level problems that traders encounter. And in fact, although it is a major issue of its own, it's also amplified by some of the other major issues, including ones that we'll cover. So in some cases, you can actually think of it as part of the domino effect, that it's actually between the major problem and the symptom level problems. Now, you've probably heard of loss aversion before because it's a very common concept in behavioral economics. And it basically relates to the point that as humans, the pain of losing something is psychologically about twice as powerful as the pleasure experienced in gaining something of similar value. So we put more weight to the feeling of losing something to gaining something. And this leads to us acting and reacting in certain ways, even if sometimes it's irrational and actually detrimental to us over the long term. So for example, if you're the sort of trader that keeps moving your stop loss, or even not having a stop loss in the first place, or some sort of equivalent risk measure, or every time you have a profitable trade, as soon as it moves even slightly against you, you close it out and end up leaving loads of profit behind. Or you scale into losing positions to try and save the overall trade, or go against your system in the heat of the moment because that's something that's going on with that specific trade. All of these actions are likely to be because of your loss aversion. Now, this is something that to a certain extent is always going to be present in our trading. So part of what we need to do is to learn how to overcome it, but we can also take actions that help to reduce the feeling of loss aversion rather than what most traders do, which is to take actions that amplify it. For example, the biggest and most common amplifier of loss aversion that I see in traders is about position size. It's having too much at risk for each trade. And this is why we suggest risking only relatively small amounts on each trade, not risking more than 2% of your account. Because if you do this, if you have relatively small position sizes, it makes it so much easier to close your trades in accordance to your system. When you have much more at risk, as soon as the price starts moving against you and that loss is meaningful to you, it feels too big, then you're going to hesitate to close it and take actions that over the long term are only going to lead to bigger losses. So if you keep your trade sizes smaller, you'll be able to act in accordance to your system. And if they're big, that loss aversion is going to be amplified and it's going to have this knock-on effect that's going to be detrimental to your trading. And with all of this in mind, that brings us on to the second common problem. Alright, I think some of you watching this will think this is a really obvious one because everyone knows you need patience as a trader. But actually, I think there are two different types of patience or impatience that can cause problems for us. And the first one, which is the one that most people usually think of, things like being so impatient that you don't wait for the right setups, you don't stick to your system, you have FOMO, the fear of missing out, and jump into trades. That sort of impatience is actually a symptom level problem, and it's usually caused by something else, something that might have nothing to do with patience. So we don't want to address the symptoms, remember, we want to address the root causes, so we can put that to one side for now. Instead, there's a different, closer to root cause problem with impatience, which is the impatience about your development and progress as a trader. Now, there are different categories of this, but they all end up with the same outcome, which is that it causes you to act and react in a way that's going to harm your long-term success in trading. For example, we have the people who don't realize that trading is a skill and it takes time to develop. We have people who have been misinformed about how much work and time goes into learning to trade. We have people who have self-imposed deadlines that they need to achieve consistently profitable status by this date or that date. And also age plays a factor as well. You see, what I've found is that mainly men between the ages of 16 and 23 are so eager to achieve success now, they're not willing to wait, that causes them to take actions and approach their trading in a certain way that holds them back and leads to all of these symptom level problems appearing. Instead, when you get a bit older and you've gone through the school of hard knocks a bit more, then you realize the need to be patient and play the long game, especially when you're learning a skill. But let's think about some of those other categories. Maybe you can relate to one of these. One I find a lot is that people are out of work and they know they need to look for another job at some point in the future, but they've got some cash and they think, I'd rather be a trader than do another job. So if I can become consistently profitable by this date, then I don't need to go and do a job search. Suddenly they've got a deadline and that adds pressure and it changes the way they approach things. Or some people have family that aren't supportive and they say, right, you've got 3 months to make this work, otherwise you're going to have to go to university, college, start work, or whatever it might be. Or it might just be that the person's been misinformed and they think it's going to be something they can achieve within a few months or even a few weeks. Now, all of these categories of people, different reasons for having this rush, this time pressure on themselves, is going to lead them to have certain actions and reactions. They're going to be approaching their development in a rushed way rather than deeply learning the skill. They're going to jump as quickly as possible to the system stage, which shouldn't be the first step for anyone. It's going to amplify their loss aversion because every loss feels like a setback, so they want to avoid it at all costs, which means when they do take a loss, it's going to have a bigger hole in their account, so next time they have to take bigger risks to make it back, which amplifies their loss aversion even more. And all of this while they've rushed their development and don't really know what they're doing, they're going to make every mistake in the book. It's also going to make it really difficult for them to have a neutral trading session, because in a trading session, when no opportunities that fit your system come up, you don't take any trades. But if you're in a rush, if you've got this deadline, you'll feel like any trading sessions where you don't open any trades is you being unproductive. It's a waste of time. So you're going to force the trades in even when they're not quite right. And if you're not sticking to your system, you're not going to become consistent. So does that one sound familiar to you? Is it something that you've been going through? If so, you need to dig deep and figure out what in your personal situation is leading you to feel that impatience with your progress and development. Why do you feel in such a rush to become a consistently profitable trader? Of course, we all want to achieve it as quickly as possible, but if you're rushing yourself to it, then you're actually never going to achieve it because you'll never overcome these symptom level problems that are coming from this root cause of you being impatient. So figure out what's causing it. Is it something in your personal situation that you can alleviate in some way? Is it something within your system that you need to be more fixed about when you're going to be entering trades and have certain steps that offset this impatient feeling you've got? And for some people, it's simply about learning what good trading involves and the steps you need to take to develop into a good trader. And that brings us on to our third common problem. Okay, so the third and final common major problem that I wanted to address in this video is the need to be right. And there are two sides to this. There's the internal side and the external side. So let's start with the internal. This is where traders take the outcome of their trades personally. They think it's a reflection of them. They think that it shows whether they were right or wrong, whether they're a good trader or a bad trader, made a good decision or a bad decision. And ultimately what this does is it leads people to falling for the trap of resulting. Now, resulting is where you judge the quality of your decision making on the outcome that it generates. And this isn't necessarily the right thing, because this means if people are falling for that, they're aiming to become a winning trader. And becoming a winning trader doesn't necessarily mean the same as becoming a profitable trader. In fact, most profitable traders are not winning traders. They're losing more trades than they're winning because they're cutting their losses early. They're cutting their losses and letting their profitable trades run, to use one of the biggest cliches in trading. Now, it might be that you just don't understand that yet. It might be that you're new to trading. And if that's the case, we'll leave a video up here in the card that you'll see appear somewhere, maybe it's on this side, that will tell you about the relationship between risk, return, success rates, winning and losing, being a profitable trader or not, and what you should be focusing on. So hopefully by understanding that, that could already help you to change away from aiming to become a winning trader and instead focusing on becoming a profitable trader. But you know, if you are aiming to become a winning trader, this is obviously going to amplify your loss aversion, because you're going to do everything in your power to avoid losing trades, because that's going to make you feel like you are wrong. So instead, you'll rather hold on to a trade until it's profiting to prove you're right. It also means that when a trade is in profit, you'll be in a hurry to close it and leave a lot of potential of that trade behind, because you'd rather just take any profit and be proven right to have that amplified success rate, rather than hanging into the trade and risk it ending up being a loss just to catch that potential that it has. So the first thing is to understand what's important in good trading, which, like I said, that video should help you with. And the second thing is to make sure that your system is set up in a way that it takes that decision making out of your hands in the heat of the moment. That when you open a trade, you have your exits based on the context of the situation. Whether the trade is going into a profit or a loss, you're exiting at the point where the context has changed against you and you should no longer be in that trade. So you're not closing your profitable trades too early and you're not hanging into your losing trades beyond the point of no return. So that covers the internal side. And now the external side is actually quite closely linked to that. And this is about people's opinions of you as a trader. Now, if people aren't involved in trading, they don't necessarily know what it takes to be a profitable trader. They'll just look at the percentages of wins compared to losses. Now, as a trader, you might not even think of it as wins or losses. It's trades that ends up in a profit and trades that ends up in a loss for you. But they don't know that, and they'll look at it and think if you have a 40% win rate, then it means you're a bad trader when you could actually be profiting. So if people care so much about the opinions of their friends and family, then it's going to impact their likelihood of taking losses or not. It's going to amplify their loss aversion. Now, you might think you don't care about the opinions of people, but subconsciously it could be affecting you. So of course, an easy way to overcome this is to not be talking to people that don't need to know about your trading. And if there's someone in your family that needs to know, like your partner or someone like that, where your decisions are going to affect them as well, then explain it to them, but explain it fully. Don't just tell them about the positives of trading. Don't sell them the dream to get them to be on your side. Don't tell them about all the profits you can make. Make sure they understand the downside as well. And in fact, even if you are talking about the profits, make it be clear to them that the route to being profitable in your trading involves taking many losses, sometimes more losses than the profitable trades because of asymmetric risk returns. So make sure you give them the full picture, because the more they understand, the more they're not going to see the losses as necessarily a bad thing and put pressure on you and make you feel bad for having the losing trades. Alright guys, so that was 3 of the most common major problems that I see in traders that lead to these symptom level problems occurring that everyone encounters. Now, of course, there are more of these problems that we haven't covered in this video, and it may be that you're dealing with one of those. So if that's the case, leave it in the comments below. Let me know what problem you're encountering. Take a moment to think whether it's a surface level problem, and if it is, try and dig deep to find what the root cause might be, and then leave it below in the comments. That way, if there's something that keeps coming up, we can address that in a future video and talk about action plans and ways to overcome it. And if you're not sure how to figure out what the root cause problem is, you can use a technique called the 5 whys, which we covered in a video a very long time ago that you'll see linked on screen. If you like this video and you want more videos like this, please do hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe for more trading lessons and insights that will help you get on track for success. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.